Hi guys, it's Tamra, the Judeo-Christian medium. So this is going to be the second part of my explaining my metaphysical experiences, out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences that I had growing up as a medium. So tonight is February 25th, 2024, and I'm going to be doing the second part of my childhood. I'm breaking it up into 10-year increments. So this will be from when I was 10 years old until 20 years old. So if you want to check out my last video, that's from when I was born until I was 10 years old. All of these dates, all of this time, time and dates are not, do not come easy to me. And I've been told that is because of my galactic origins, and I've had all of that explained to me, which I will explain to you all at another time. But let me explain my name quickly. So my name is Tamra, the Judeo-Christian medium. So I'm a Jewish Christian medium, and I discovered that through conversations with Jesus. You can check out my last video and see my first conversation I had with Jesus. And then as an adult, I had a near-death experience where I talked to Jesus, and I also connected to Jesus through tarot. So he's like, I was beating down your door. So anyway, through talking to him, through finally getting a clearer connection through prayer and a lot of different modalities and mediums, I ended up talking to him about my own personal religion. And he told me that I'm Jewish and Christian, and that has to do with a lifetime we had together and our connection. And that's who he was. He was a Jewish man who, when he was here as Jesus, and he's been other figures too in other lifetimes, which I'll talk about, but when he was here in that lifetime, which is a very important lifetime, he was a Jewish man bringing forth messages, and he was connecting to this team that I'm going to introduce you to, my team, his team, God, and he was bringing forth messages to help the Jewish people. And then, you know, later on it became Christianity. So I've been working with him, talking to him, and trying to bring forth those messages. Being like, guys, sometimes I just go in and out of weird accents, and I'm like over enunciating. Oh goodness, I just want to make sure I explain everything. So yes. So Jewish Christian, and I'll get into my religious origins of this lifetime in this explanation of life from 10 to 20 years old. But before I do that, I want to pray to my team, my galactic archangel team that is here with me right now. Oh, and they're calming me down like they always do. So if you all are looking for any for who to pray to. This is a good team to pray to, and they have described themselves in one word. I will be making more videos about each archangel in my team, but just let me introduce them and this will all unfold. So we have God who's coming in from my right. Tonight, it's just a very warm energy, indescribable, white, beautiful energy. I'd like to thank God for life. So I'm going to, my prayer to my team is going to be a thank you. So God, as this beautiful white light, little silvery and gold too, connects to Jesus. So he has the same light, and he's also very indigo, and I can feel his warmth. And I'd like to thank Jesus for peace. And Jesus connects over to Mother Mary, who sits at my right-hand shoulder. She's very indigo and also white, silver, and gold. I'd like to thank Mother Mary. Thank you for comfort. And Mother Mary connects over to Father Joseph, who it's a white light and same colors as Mother Mary. And I'd like to thank Father Joseph for stability. He always makes me laugh. He's like, I'm brown, because it's like, okay, thank you, Father Joseph. It's our own private joke. Thank you for stability. And Father Joseph connects over to Archangel Michael. And this is like a circle, guys. So thank you, Archangel Michael, who is very indigo. I mean, he does have sparkles of like gold and silver and white around him too. But thank you, Archangel Michael. Thank you for protection. Archangel Michael connects over to Archangel Metatron. And Archangel Metatron is a rainbow of colors tonight. He's red, orange, and yellow, and a little bit of pink. Thank you, Metatron. Thank you for entertainment. He's usually in the red, orange, and yellow colors. And just to let you all know, this is where the rainbow comes from. The rainbow that we see on Earth, what we hear of as the rainbow connection, the rainbow bridge that connects the other side to Earth. And these archangels, galactic beings, are these colors. So I explain a little bit more in each video. Okay, they said explain it towards the end. Okay, so Archangel Metatron connects over to Archangel Eric Medhus, who sits at my left hand. I want to thank Archangel Eric Medhus for communication. He's very indigo. He was a part of Archangel Uriel, and he branched off. His mission is to connect us to the other side. to communicate with the other side. Thank you, Archangel Eric Medhus. Archangel Eric Medhus connects over to Archangel Gabriel, who sits right in front of me. Thank you, Archangel Gabriel. Thank you for acceptance. Archangel Gabriel is very red and very warm. Feels like a fire. Thank you, Archangel Gabriel. Now, Archangel Gabriel connects past Michael to Archangel Sandalphon, who sits kind of, it's sort of behind, it's very hard to explain. It's like an orchestra, slightly behind, a little bit up from Archangel Michael. Sits Archangel Sandalphon. I'd like to thank Archangel Sandalphon for intelligence. Archangel Sandalphon is white, sparkly white, a little silver and gold around him, but mainly white. Archangel Sandalphon connects over to Archangel Raphael. Archangel Raphael is violet with a little bit of white, silver, and gold around him too. Thank you, Archangel Raphael, for healing. Archangel Raphael connects over to Archangel Azrael. Archangel Azrael is a little white, silver, gold, and a little bit of violet and indigo. Thank you, Archangel Azrael. Thank you for organization. Archangel Azrael connects over to Archangel Jophiel, who's very sparkly, very silver and gold. Silver, gold, white light. Thank you, Archangel Jophiel. Thank you for magical beauty. Archangel Jophiel connects over to Archangel Uriel, which is me. Thank you, Archangel Uriel. Thank you for my mission. And as you can see, Archangel Uriel is very indigo. Thank you, Archangel Uriel. Archangel Uriel connects over to Archangel Zadkiel. Thank you, Archangel Zadkiel, for balance. Archangel Zadkiel is coming in tonight. He's very warm. Sorry guys, I'm like really getting into talking to them tonight. He's coming in as green tonight, which he usually does, and you know, he's sparkly too. Thank you, Archangel Zadkiel. Thank you for balance. Archangel Zadkiel connects over to Archangel Jeremiah. Thank you, Archangel Jeremiah. Thank you for wildness. Archangel Jeremiah is coming in very yellow. Archangel Jeremiah connects over to Archangel Raguel, who's very red. Thank you, Archangel Raguel. Thank you for swagger. And now he's swirling. He's a little bit of orange. Archangel, a little bit of yellow. Thank you. He's very dancy. Archangel Raguel connects over to Archangel Chamuel, who's coming in as a very light blue. Thank you, Archangel Chamuel. Thank you for calm. Archangel Chamuel is connecting to Archangel Ezekiel, who's a very pale, corn-colored yellow. Thank you, Archangel Ezekiel. Thank you for nutrition. Archangel Ezekiel is connecting to Archangel Haniel. Archangel Haniel is a very light pink. Thank you, Archangel Haniel. Thank you for sleep. And Archangel Haniel connects to Archangel Daniel McDaniel. Thank you, Archangel Daniel, for humor. and Archangel Daniel is red tonight. It has a little bit of green. It's a teaching color. Thank you, Daniel. So this is my Archangel team. They make up the Pleiadians, Arcturians, and Tall Whites. On my right-hand side, we have more of a tall white, a stronger tall white energy. And as we go into the center, it's more Pleiadian. And as we go over to my left, it's more Arcturian. But this whole team, this circle is Pleiadian, Arcturian, and Tall White. So just a very brief explanation. You can check out my other videos. You can check out videos to see if you might be one of this type of galactic being. You can check out my videos for further explanation, but what Jesus told me was that when God created humanity here on earth, he got together with the Arcturians, the Pleiadians, the Tall Whites, and the Reptilians who were already in existence on other planets. And with this team created humanity. Okay, so thank you all. They're standing by, and now I'm going to get into just some of these things that happened to me. And Jesus would like me to remind you all, as a galactic being, I am on the spectrum of autism. So if you are, that could be an indication. And yes, he wants me to remind you all that that's another reason that I'm making these videos. These are indications that you might have galactic origins. And that would be really important to know, as I am Archangel Uriel, and I help people with their mission. And knowing your galactic origins, knowing everything about yourself, helps you with your mission. And that's my mission, to help you all with your mission. So, like I said, I'm on the autistic spectrum, the ADHD spectrum, and I have other things that I'll get into at another time. But right now, we're gonna start at 10 years old, and it would be helpful to watch the other video first, and you can see the progression. But anyway, so I continued to have a lot of deja vu throughout my childhood. And I did unusual things, normal things, and had unusual things happen to me. And as far as my religion goes, Jesus wanted me to also go back to my baptism, which is very important. And I'll also talk about lifetimes I've had and why that is important. But when I was baptized, my father he passed away. He's Archangel Sandalphon, a Tall White. He was Irish Catholic, and I was baptized Irish Catholic. So we'll start with that. And there was a bit of an argument there because my mother, who's also passed away, she's reptilian, she was Episcopalian. So there was that clash. But then again, she was also Armenian, and she wasn't religious. So there was that. Anyway, so keep that in mind. A strange thing that I did was I made a friend, and I was 9, and I joined a gospel church. And I can't really sing, but I sang all the gospel music, the really like go tell on the mountain, all of that. And I actually had my parents come to the church once. So this was my mother and my stepfather, and we never went again. We were the only white people there, and we also moved neighborhoods. So we moved around a bit when I was growing up, so different neighborhoods. So that was an experience. But also, strangely, so I was a shy kid. I didn't really speak. I spoke very late in life. And then I didn't speak a lot. Which is strange. Now, I'm making these sort of long-winded videos, but even though I didn't speak, when I was a kid, whatever neighborhood we lived in, I was that kid that was like welcome in each house, like any house that had kids, some homes that didn't even have children. I would go visit and have lunch. And Jesus said that goes back to other lifetimes I've had where I was a traveling religious figure, and I was very hands-on. So that was a part of me. So that's why I felt comfortable going to this gospel church, even though I was like this little white girl. I was the only white person in this African-American church. So it's very unusual, and also I was considered to be very shy, but I did things like that. But it's been explained to me. It's unusual. It's unusual. Like not normal, but I understand it. And having had a near-death experience in my adulthood opened up the door on the other side, and I talked to my team, I talked to Jesus. So when I had that experience, I just had a knowing, but it's very hard to break it down to you all, but I'm trying. So then another strange thing is a couple years after that, so I believe I was around 11, I became an altar girl with my brother, Freddie, who is Archangel Gabriel. I don't remember as myself, like how that unfolded, probably through a friend. I think it was, yeah, Jesus is saying it was through one of my friends. And we just joined this church, and it makes sense for who we were before that we would do that. But like I said, our family wasn't religious. And even looking back on my childhood, I would say, I didn't have a religious childhood, and I didn't really understand the Bible. These random churches that I went to, they'd read passages in sort of a, you know, they just read random passages without explanation. So I didn't, you know, put all of this together. So let me also explain. When I was an altar girl, the priest I don't know, set me aside, alienated me, but he had me go for like extra Bible study with him. And it was in his house, and that was like next to the church. So Jesus told me, and I remember this happening, but I didn't know, but Jesus told me he was grooming me, that he was a sort of on a shady character that was like a decent priest, but grooming me for, how do I say this? Abuse, but that didn't happen because I ended up listening to my intuition. So, I went to his house once and I liked it. He had me read passages from the Bible, and I was a really good reader. And I was, even though I was very shy, when I was asked to, I had a good vocabulary and I was able to read well out loud. So I was in my comfort zone, and he gave me these Cameo cookies, and I love vanilla, and so does my team. And I was happy. So it didn't take much to buy me off as a kid. So anyway, I did feel very uncomfortable though, because I was the only one there, and I was reading and I felt him staring at me. So I was uncomfortable. And the next time he was going to pick me up, I actually listened to my intuition, and Jesus said he was talking to me, and I decided to go to a friend's house and just stay there. And so I no-showed when he picked me up. And then that was it. We never ended up going to that church again. My parents went a couple times because my brother and I somehow went and became altar children. It was a Protestant church, so that's allowed for anyone tuning in that's Catholic. So that was my experience with that. And you know, I said in my last video that that had happened to me before, that someone had tried to do that, and Jesus intervened and helped me navigate my way out of it. So it's very hard for me to tell you all these stories, because I know that some people have had that happen to them and it was a lot worse. So I didn't want to tell these stories, but Jesus said it was important that I did, because it's a part of who I am, and it explains like how I did listen to my intuition at times. But if you had more than that happen to you, that doesn't mean that you're not a galactic being, or that you don't have access to your intuition. It's very complicated, and you know, I've explained in my other videos how we are at spiritual warfare, and now Archangel Michael is coming in, and he says that they're always trying to protect us, but sometimes you know, we're here on earth, we have free will. We came here in certain circumstances. Jesus is saying none of us came here to be assaulted, touched, abused, physically abused, emotionally abused, but we, humanity, the galactic beings, God, we've all made an agreement that when we come to Earth, that there are certain circumstances that we're coming into for certain reasons, and that there are risks, and that they would try to talk to us, but there is also an understanding that there are dark reptilian people on Earth. There are, you know, the groups that I said before, galactic beings, regular or just reptilians that aren't dark, and humanity is also being talked to and manipulated by a dark reptilian energy that hangs out in the fourth dimension. And this is my terminology that Jesus has told me throughout the ages. It's been told in different terminology. Now remember, everyone has, you know, not everyone, well, everyone has intuition, but mediums, prophets throughout the ages have had different languages, different ways that they are talked to. You know, I've delved really deeply into this, so I've gotten down to the nitty-gritty of communication, but also throughout my experiences, they've shown me symbolism, movies, song lyrics, things like that. So this has been described to others. Other people have had near-death experiences, and but Jesus has told me, and he wants me to tell you all right now, that one of the reasons that we all have similar but unique experiences is so that you all, we all can see that it's real, if that makes sense. So, you know, I've gone round and round with Jesus about this. Like, why don't you just tell us all the same exact thing? And he says, well, that would be boring. That would be like, how, you know, it would just sound like people were repeating the same things. So it's all a little piece of the puzzle. And Jesus gives us different information. So another reason that I'm explaining this all to you is that so you can maybe go back in your life and continue on with your life and also see times that they're reaching out to you, because they would like to talk to you. Now, you all, not everybody is a medium and meant to do this work that I do in this way, but they would still like you to develop a relationship with them and talk to them, and first of all, give them permission. That was a really big thing for me. This was after my near-death experience. I sat down and I gave God permission. I said, God, I just said it straight. I said, God, thy will be done. Meaning, this was what I wanted. I want you, Jesus is saying, Jesus to take the wheel. I want you all to take the wheel and direct me to, like, be in charge. You know, not like I'm a marionette doll, but like, I wanted them to put me back onto my highest path of what I wanted to do. Now I understand it's my mission, but forgive me for not looking at you all, because I'm talking to all of them, but I recommend doing that. If you want to, if you feel like you need to get back on track and get on your mission, I recommend you doing that. And I know a lot that scares people. And I talk so much about my team and Jesus and God that, you know, I've actually talked to people who have received messages from me and help from me. And, you know, their concern and their concern about me, excuse me, let me have some water. I'm in New York, so we're gonna hear sirens. The concern, some people's concern, is that I'm being too led by them, or just like I'm not making my own decisions, and it's not true. I consider myself to be part of this team, and that we're making decisions together. I have free will, and I'm asking them, like, well, what do you think about this, and what do you think about that? And we're working so closely together now that they're actually like having, like, talking to me and saying, like, ask me this, just to make it easier, because it's a lot of work to do this psychic work. But anyway, this is just a recommendation. If you'd like to do that, you can try it. That's something that Jesus always tells me. He's like, just try the suggestion. And that's what it is. They give me suggestions. So, okay, so now we're around like 11 years old. So, and just to let you all know, these are not all of my experiences. So, moving on from that, I started to see some dark shadows in my room around this time. And that's very common with mediums. So Jesus has told me that was the dark reptilian energy coming in the energy from the fourth dimension. And it's hard to explain, but that energy, what you can call it, dark reptilian, some people call it the devil, it has different names, but like I said, it feeds off humanity, and it knows what my mission is. So Jesus is saying it was there to scare me. And that's, you know, that's a thing. And so it started to come in, you know, a little bit at this time. Now, Jesus is saying that whenever we experience trauma, that leaves a little bit of a hole in our spirit for the dark energy to come in. So, you know, as we get older, as I got older, there was a little opening there. And you can watch my previous video and see where there were times that there was an opening. So, you know, that's a very broad explanation. So also, getting a little bit warm here. Archangel Michael just popped in. That's our little joke. So Archangel Michael wants me to remind you all that this whole team, my team, myself included, we are part of the Galactic Federation. The Galactic Federation, you might have heard of them. It is an energetic group that fights, this whole group fights spiritual warfare, and yes, they work for the light. I work for the light. I'm part of this team. Yes, now they're reminding me. So this is a very interesting connection. So I've had 2 lifetimes, they've told me, where I was a Navy pilot, and which also explains I was obsessed with Snoopy. Many of you have watched Charlie Brown, in Charles Schultz, who I'm going to read for at some point. I've talked to him. He's a galactic being. He's actually a child. He's in the child group of Archangel Sandalphon. So, you know, he wrote Charlie Brown, and he, you know, the characters in Charlie Brown are archetypes, and I was obsessed with Snoopy, and especially the episode where Snoopy is the Red Baron, and he's on his red doghouse. Just completely obsessed, and that comes from a past lifetime where I was a Navy pilot. So the Navy is very important to me. It's connected to my spiritual DNA and my past lives, and Archangel Michael. So there was that. So I mean, it's just awesome to get this information from them. So when you all pass, you will get all of this information where all of these connections come from, the things you like, and they will talk to you about, like you'll eventually talk to them. You may be greeted by your ancestors, your team, but you will eventually have a life review. So this is a fun fact. In my last near-death experience, I started a life review, and now as I talk to Jesus, I'm continuing the life review. And this may sound awesome, but it started with a dark night of the soul when I came back from my near-death experience. So that'll be explained too. I'm just making all of these connections, and you know, just to let you all know that this will eventually happen. And also when you pray, ask to be given connections, you know, like I've said earlier. So, okay, let's go back to my notes here. Like I said in the previous videos, I would astral travel with this group a lot. As I got older, I didn't do it as much as when I was, you know, from birth to 10. And Jesus explained that to me and said that that's because as we age, you know, we get denser. So I did astral travel. I can't astral travel with them anymore. I talk to them, but they've told me that my body is not strong enough. I would not be able to come back into my body. So, little fun facts there. So I continued to astral travel, and I would do things like, so I can remember, so I was a child in the 70s, and we were really physical. And I remember going over a bump on the grass with my bike. I was on the back of a bike, and I just flew off. And I liked that feeling so much, and I missed that feeling so much that I actually asked my friend, and I think she thought I was crazy, and but she did it for me, because I was like, please, let's go over that bump again at the same speed, because I kept flying off my bicycle, like not respecting gravity, like not understanding that I could physically get hurt. And this is something my older brother and I had in common. He would try to fly off the garage because he was also astral traveling. And both of us did not have a concept of getting physically hurt. And we were both also like athletic, very athletic, and physically fearless. It was just, and Jesus says, because of our experiences, we were trying to recreate what we felt in spirit when we astral traveled, and didn't really have a good concept of being like human. And just be aware of that. Think about if you did that, or if you have children who are on the spectrum who you think are, you know, galactic, empaths, intuitives, indigo children, you know, that they might experience similar things. Okay, so You know, I've told you all in the last video, I was very socially immature, but intellectually mature. So it was, you know, a odd combo, autistic, Asperger's, however you want to explain it. But I started babysitting at 9. People trusted me with their children, even though I was a strange kid. I didn't really talk a lot. It was part of the time, but I was really in high demand ever since I was 9 to babysit. And I just, you know, I had strange experiences when I babysat. Like, I can remember the kids drew on the wall, and their mom was so upset, and I said, let's take toothpaste. And I took toothpaste like Martha Stewart, and we were wiping the walls, and I had not learned this, but I thought toothpaste cleans your teeth. And it came out, and I remember, like many moments in my life, their mother being just like, how do you know that? So there's that, you know, very responsible and practical, yet I'm telling you guys, I was very socially immature. And I'll get into that later. So let me see here. I'm sorry that I have to look at my notes, guys, but I just have to focus. So now let's get more into when I was in junior high and high school. So if I also forget, I'll make another video and put it like in this category of 10 to 20 years old. So I just did very strange things. Like, one of my friends was really upset that she had broken up with her boyfriend, and actually this was in high school, and I just looked at her and I saw her future, and she was crying, and I was like, oh, you're gonna be fine. I said, you're going to get married and have kids and you'll be fine. And she's looking at me like, WTF, like, what are you talking about? And, you know, like I said, I was socially immature, and she was more socially mature than me, and I'm telling her this is very strange. So, okay, so also here's a memory from before junior high. So let's, sorry guys, going backwards. So this is, I was around 10, right before junior high, and one of the teachers decided to create this little like reading group, and we were reading very advanced books like Watership Down, and then one of my absolute favorite books, which actually relates to one of my lifetimes, it's called The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. And so he created this little group where we'd read these like novels and just talk about them like adults, and he'd drink coffee and we'd just analyze these books. And so there's that, it's, you know, things like that. Okay, so now here's an experience from high school. We had moved to another town for junior high and high school, so I was no longer in advanced classes, but I ended up going, and I actually became very withdrawn because I wasn't being mentally challenged. I was very bored at school, and also I had an experience where I had met a soulmate friend, and unbeknownst to me, another friend came between us. And so me being socially immature, I didn't understand that. I thought my friend didn't want to be friends with me anymore. And it was like a huge mistake in my life. And I can remember even her and her mother called me and said, like, you know, whatever we did, we're sorry. I was very close to them. We would like you to, you know, accept our apology and make up. And I just wasn't having it because I had another friend that was coming between us. And also there were other things involved with my family that made it very hard for me to understand what was going on. It's very hard to explain, but I became very withdrawn by the time I was in high school. I was not I was like doing average in school, way below my I don't know how to explain it. What do they say? It's like not living up to your potential. But anyway, one day I decided to go with a friend. We had an Armenian church in town, and I'm Armenian. So even though I said my mother was saying she was like Episcopalian, this was a denial of who we were. So tracing my DNA, and Jesus showed me that my DNA, we were actually Jewish Armenian, and he traced it back to Armenia and persecution. And so this goes really far back in this lifetime, the DNA of this lifetime. And it goes back to 4 generations back, where I was a man in this DNA that I have now. And Jesus explained to me how I suffered religious persecution and had to denounce the fact that I was Jewish, and changed my name, switched to Christianity. So me going to this Armenian church I felt it that day in high school. It was overwhelming. And then, guys, I had my coffee grounds red because the day that I went to this church, it was synchronicity. I went to the church and had my coffee grounds red. There was a fair after church. So I had the most unbelievable experience that day. So like I said, I was despondent, withdrawn, in classes that were below my intellectual level. I was bored. I was socially immature. I was disconnected from my best friend. And like I was just way off of my mission. So the woman who read my coffee grounds told me that I would travel the world, which I did for my job for 29 years. And I was looking at her like she was nuts, because when I would get down in my life, and this is even up to the present, when I get down, it's called selective mutism, and it's a part of being neurodivergent. So oftentimes I was mute then, and it does happen to me occasionally now. If I get upset, I just become mute. So I was experiencing that a lot, and this woman, very enthusiastic woman reading the coffee grinds, she's like, you're going to travel the world. And I was living in a very small town, and I was just like, okay, lady. Now I know how people feel when I tell them crazy stuff. She said, you're going to speak to large groups of people. She said large, like worldwide. I was like, okay, lady. And she was like, I'm serious. And I was like, okay. So I thought she was completely wrong. And let me have some water. Sorry, guys. I thought she was wrong and bonkers, and I never went back to that. Not like angrily, but I just you know, I wasn't really a part of that group. I actually also, the best friend that I separated from, her and I would go to a Catholic church in town. So, oh my goodness, I was doing that, and Jesus is just talking to me now. He's reminding me. So prior to that, I hate to go back and forth in the timeline, but before, in the old neighborhood we had lived in, I actually made a friend who was American Indian, and I would go with her family to powwows. And again, guys, I was the only like white kid there, and I was accepted. And that's just because it's like a part of me. Religion, spirituality is just such a big part of my soul. So, okay, let's cut back to the day that I went to this Armenian church and had my coffee grounds read. When I walked home from that church, like I told you guys before, I was in a down mood. Well, I wasn't in such a down mood at that moment, but just my soul. But I walked by this man, and he was just sitting there, and I just felt his sadness intuitively, and he was selling items from his house. And I was looking at them, and I liked them. And they were like items from the 1940s, 30s and 40s. And there was this gold watch, and it was big, and it had gold circular medallions that it was like gold, and then it was black, and it had gold ships on them, and then it had like a hanging, like you connected it, and then it had a hanging gold, like just hanging gold, like bracelet, you know, loop, rope. And it just reminded me of ships, and we see the Navy, and it was his wife's, and his wife had just passed away. And he told me he was selling her things because, you know, she had passed away, and seeing the things reminded him of her, and he wanted to pass them on. So this was an antique. And here I was, a kid, and that was very common for me to just suddenly wear something strange like that. I didn't care. So I bought that bracelet, and I loved it. I wore it and wore it until it fell apart. I had it repaired, it fell apart. So I had that, and then I bought these. It's very hard to explain. They were like prints, but they were prints that were pasted onto real wood, but very thin, well, like a wood board, very thin, very light, and they were from the late 30s, and they were all from New York. And I got so used, I bought 3 of them. I got so used to these prints that I didn't really look at them, you know, when you've had something for so long. And I kept them through high school and college and places I lived, and then brought them to New York. And then one day I was in my room in New York, and I just really studied them, and they were all from New York, from different places in New York. One had George Bernard Shaw, and a picture of vaudeville, and one had a picture of a New York bookstore, and I was just overwhelmed with just psychic information, like, this is synchronicity, this is a connection. But that was right after my coffee ground reading, and Jesus is like, he's like, because of my life experiences, I was receiving all of this synchronicity as a child all throughout my lifetime, but I wasn't connecting things. And I was way off of my mission, and they were trying so hard to get me back on track with the astral travel and the these synchronicities, but there was only so much they can do. And I want to try to explain this a little bit. Sorry, I need a little lip balm. Getting a little dry here. There's spiritual law, a system of checks and balances where, because of our free will contracts, they can only help us so much, like especially before we ask for their help. I didn't know that I was lost. I didn't know I was disconnected from my mission. So I wasn't asking for help, and I wasn't regularly going to any sort of group, religion or spiritual group. So it was hard for them to connect to me, even though my mission was having a lifetime of being connected to them. So, how they were able to connect to me more, and even me being able to astral travel, is through this system of checks and balances. Because of some people who were brought into my life, made responsible for me, because there was a dark reptilian element, and they were manipulating my life in the wrong direction. That also helped this team come in, because through this intricate system of checks and balances, the dark reptilian energy was like a foul play. They were overstepping their boundaries in my life, in manipulating my life, as to where my team was able to come in. And I'm sorry, I can't give all of the details. There are people who are still alive, and I want to respect other people's business. But that's the best way that I can explain it. So definitely, if you feel that you've had dark reptilian energy in your life, some people call them narcissist. It can go anywhere from narcissism, sadism, sociopathy, psychopaths, toxic people, toxic energy, manipulation. If you feel that you've had any of that, you know, please talk to Archangel Michael. Ask him to cut cords with that energy, specifically with certain people, and also say, hey, I've been through this. I feel that I'm off of my mission. I feel that I've been manipulated in the wrong direction. Can you please cut that energy and put me back on path? So I wasn't able to do that as a child, but they were able to come to me without, you know, they actually did. Jesus did show up to me when, you know, I was 7. He was able to do that spiritually, but he couldn't, you know, he couldn't just keep doing that. So even though he continued to talk to me, the dark reptilian energy here and on Earth was talking to me too. So as maybe you've heard from other mediums, spiritual people, they've felt this battle. And many of you have probably felt that. So, okay, then, so when I was in high school, I also went to a tarot reader. The mall was having like a fair. So I went to the tarot reader there, and this happened to me like every time I would get any sort of reading. She was so intense. She was practically crying, and she was saying, I want you to know you have 2 people who you're really connected to, but you're not connecting to them. And that was my father and my biological father, who, you know, my parents had separated, and now I had a stepfather. But she said, your biological, she didn't say it, but she said your father, which was him, and your brother. I mean, Jesus told me it was my father and my brother. She just told me there were 2 people. And I couldn't take in the information. I didn't understand her because, you know, I had a family. And so I'm like, but she was very adamant. She was practically in tears. And she's like, I just really need you to know this. And guys, it didn't sink in. But I remember that experience, and Jesus told me about it. So I also did strange things in high school. Like I would go to the library, and I found this one book called Linda Goodman's Sun Signs, and I would read that instead of doing my homework. And this was a time, this was like the early 80s, and people just were not into this stuff. I lived in a small town, and I wasn't trying to be the oddball. I really wasn't. You know, sometimes I'd wear unique things, but pretty much I would dress like everyone. I really wanted to fit in. Another strange thing that I did was after I had separated from my best friend, I was like a part, but not fully but I was like part of these different social groups, and they were all so different. And Jesus has quite clearly told me that I wasn't supposed to experience any of that. Now, this is something this message he really wants me to spread to the spiritual community. He says, like, not everything happens for a reason. Yes, we do learn from our experiences, but some experiences we're not even supposed to be a part of. We're not supposed to learn. So Jesus told me I was very socially immature, as was my best friend that I separated from. And we were supposed to go to high school and college together. But because we separated, I became parts of these different groups, and I ended up having like a male gay best friend for a while from another town. And we would go out and we would go to these clubs that played at the time it was called alternative rock. It was like all this music from England, and it was I loved it. I still listen to that music, but I also had a group of friends where I would go out. It's so funny. This was the time though. This is some kids went out. Like I would go disco dancing with friends and disco roller skating. So the disco people hated the alternative rock people and vice versa. But I had outfits for both and I enjoyed both. Even though, guys, I still was socially immature. And what I mean about that is like, I just didn't get all of the, especially as a girl, I didn't get the socializing. I didn't get the hierarchies. I didn't get all of it, the dating, all of that stuff. I still wanted to like roller skate and play games and just go to the movies and things like that. And so I was behind, but I kind of like just went along. I didn't really date and things like that. So I had crushes, but and you know, again, Jesus is reiterating that it's because it wasn't my life mission. So the reason I'm telling you all too, it's because I want to pass on the message that sometimes you're not meant to fit in everywhere. If you're not on your mission, you're not going to fit where you are. And for me growing up, the message that I got, and many of you get in your culture, is that you're supposed to make yourself fit. And Jesus is saying, yes, there's flexibility is a part of life, but me having my life review, really showed me that there were just people in places where I did not belong with them or in that place. And I felt it, like, unfortunately, there's another thing with me that Jesus gave me as a child, and it's part of who I am, which is like to really enjoy the moment and enjoy things. And it's part of being on the spectrum. Like if I was somewhere that I didn't belong, I would really just like connect to the music and connect to like whatever I was eating or wearing or something like that, which is why so many people think that people on the spectrum are so strange. Like, but Jesus explained to me, like, I shouldn't even have been there, but I was adjusting by making the most of it. Because like after I stopped being friends with my best friend, I made other friendships, and I would be uncomfortable at this person's house and stuff, but I was starting to feel like it's me and I need to adjust to people. So I would just try to fit and try to accept what was going on around me. I thought, this is what I need to do, and this is what, oh, sorry, my neck. Like, this is what growing up is. So, maybe some younger person will watch this video and it'll click and they'll be like, oh, I am experiencing that. So hopefully it will help. Because even as adults, you could be in the wrong job or something like that. Another thing that happened to me, okay, that's past the age of 20, so I'll tell you guys that at another time. Let me see here. Sorry about the fire engine. New York. So, okay, I'm gonna wrap this up soon, but they want me to go back to Snoopy. So that goes, like I said, it was a lifetime where I was a fighter pilot, and I was in World War II, and I was shot down. I'm going to explain this whole thing when I go through each lifetime with you guys. But Jesus did tell me that, and that, well, he also said, I connected to Snoopy because of Snoopy's personality. So you can see, like, Snoopy was a dog and he was like living with humans, but he was also he was like off to the side sort of doing things, and I would do that. Like I've gone through now and looked back at like things Snoopy has done. Like he'd be off like cooking or like he was of service. And I also I loved Grover, and looking back, so both Grover and Snoopy had all these different jobs of service, and yet Jesus is saying that's one of my love languages, is like acts of service. So there's that. And guys, it's so funny looking back at Grover. Grover, I was a flight attendant in one of his sketches, and I was like, oh my God. And the things he was saying, it's like, or things like I've said as a flight attendant. And of course he had Fat Blue as a passenger. So there's that. But interesting, I'll give you guys this little tidbit. In my past life, when I was a fighter pilot, I'll explain this, and this is actually a historical fact. I won't tell you all, I'm not ready to tell you all who I was in these lifetimes yet. I want to go through them in order, but I was British, and I was a fighter pilot, and I was shot down, but my team left, and I actually dated one of the guys who left, and I felt that this guy was emotionally unavailable, and it all connects. Now, this is really important. Was that synchronicity? Yes. Was I supposed to date this guy? No. He was not part of my mission here. Were we gonna run in the same circle and connect that way? Yes. But I was not supposed to date him. So this is where we need to be careful, because in the spiritual community, there's been this idea where we get part of it, right? Where someone feels familiar to us and we date them and we have issues, it doesn't work. So the conclusion has been like, oh, you know, this person was my lesson and I was supposed to meet them and they helped me grow and we have a past life connection. And Jesus says that's not always true. That when we are connected to our intuition, like had I been connected to my intuition, had I been on my mission, I would have met this person and been like, okay, they're familiar, but I should have not been attracted to them because they're not for me. And I did have a bit of a reaction, but it's very hard to explain. But Jesus, I hope I can explain it to you guys. Jesus explained it to me as I should, if I had been where I should be spiritually, emotionally, I would feel a familiarity with this person, but would see their character, that they're not like someone that you can count on, and connect it to the feeling to the past life. But instead, because of where I was at spiritually in this lifetime, off of my mission, I connected to this past life person with intrigue and being partially spiritually growing and thinking, this person feels familiar, so I should just go with it and adjust. And they're attracted to me, so there's got to be something there. But Jesus would like to say quite clearly that things that feel familiar are not always for you, are not in your best interest. Especially if you've had any sort of toxic, dark experiences, any sort of issues in your family. So, you know, this is just, I wish I could explain it further, but I think that's enough for now. And Jesus is saying it is very difficult. It's challenging because we do run into people we've had past experiences with, but it doesn't mean that we're supposed to like really fully connect with them. And Jesus is saying that a good way for you to tell is, first of all, trust your gut. If you just feel like someone is like so different from you, take your time. Take your time, listen to all of your intuition. We live in a time where people think being enlightened, being spiritual means not being judgy, but that also can take away from your discernment. And Jesus would like me to give this message to you to be discerning. And this is with neighbors, friends, what parties you go to, where you go, how you spend your time, who you spend your time with. And he's saying many of us can take it a lot slower. And, you know, he's been telling me this information for a while. And since I've done this, I've been like a lot happier. I've been a lot more at peace, like, and I've been able to do this work. I've been able to make these videos because I have more energy. So I hope that's, you know, I'll elaborate on that more, because it is a very confusing thing, and it's a confusing time right now because it is a time where many people have been taught to really, you know, not be judgmental and love and light and I think you guys get it. I want to show you this candle. You know, I've told you before that Jesus wants me to show you certain things that they've recommended. So this is a Mother Mary candle, and I've had one of these on before when I didn't have my setup. And this is from a company called Petra Strike. I don't have any sponsors, guys. I don't even have my, you know, channel monetized. So, ooh, did I? Oh, it went out. So, love you, Mother Mary. So I've been with Mother Mary's been helping me a lot lately. So my team picked that candle. So anyway, it's from Petra Strike, and I got it on Amazon, and it came with 3, which is nice. And it smells really good. My team likes it. You know, I'm gonna make more videos about how to make your space more attractive for the Jesus says it's more than attractive. It's like they resonate at such a high level. Like this team I introduced you to, obviously, like God is infinite, but it's from the 12th dimension down to the 7th. And it's very hard for them to connect to us. So we have to meet them. And there's so many ways to do that, as you all know, like cleansing your space, certain scents, cleansing your energy. So that's just a part of it. They help me pick out things that they like, scents that they like. But with that, guys, I'll make a whole video about that. So those are some of my experiences from 10 to 20 years old of experiences of a medium. I'm Archangel Uriel. I'm Pleiadian, Arcturian, and Tall White. So maybe you have had similar experiences. Maybe you feel like you are galactic, that you're part of the Galactic Federation. A big, big thing that they're working on right now is also stopping I'll call it human traffic stops. I think you all get it. And hopefully also you all can see the synchronicities that are happening now, like that are connections that between groups, between this Galactic Federation, some groups like YouTubers, some political commentators, comedians, musicians, a lot of people are lining up on the same page right now. And Jesus says this is good. And yeah, like I said before, I was doing tarot, and I've told you all I wanted to come on and read for zodiac signs, and now look at me, part of this Galactic Federation. I never thought that my channel would go in that direction, but lots of people are getting the call, and so many groups are coming together. The narcissistic community. There are people that I've watched talk about narcissism that are great at it, and they've been shifting, and they're talking about, they're calling it like a dark energy. They're calling narcissism spiritual warfare, and they're calling them demons and things like that, and the Jezebel spirit. And then, there's people like me who started out as tarot readers who are now into the Galactic Federation, and talking about, in my last video, I talked about a ship that I was on, and, they've told me each group, like my team has ships, and then the Arcturians have, sometimes they go off on their own ships, Pleiadians, and for different reasons, the Reptilians have a ship, and I really want to talk about that, guys. Because that's often the ones that were spotted. And they also are the Men in Black. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about, but lots of communities are coming together, and you can see there's been more disclosure. So I don't know. This is really exciting. So anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. It's getting late and long. And if I think of more things that happened during the time period from 10 to 20, I'll just make another video. But for now, that's it. And I'll talk to you guys soon. And as always, thank you all for your support on my channel. I'm not doing personal readings right now, so I apologize for people who ask me for personal readings. I'm just trying to get all of this information out for now. That could change in the future. But anyway, thank you guys. And I'd like to thank my team and say goodbye to them and say goodbye and good night to you guys.